Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Give 'em Heck podcast. I'm Brian. This is your host, Penny. So we were supposed to do a live TikTok this week, this
Yeah,
episode,
this one was supposed to be live on TikTok.
but unfortunately, I was lied to, um, and I can't remember where I got the information from. So unfortunately, I have no one to blame. But I was told 50 followers is what we needed. Apparently, you need anywhere between 500 to 1,000. So we're nowhere near that mark yet.
Mm-hmm.
So in a week or two, we're going to do another live, but it's most likely going to be on YouTube.
YouTube. Mm-hmm.
But we'll be putting up announcements for that. But other than that, welcome back and welcome any new followers or subscribers we have. We would appreciate it if everybody who enjoys our content would please like and share the video. It helps in the algorithm quite a bit, gets our videos out to new people who may like to hear us ramble and debate.
Is that what we're doing?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of any other words off the top of my head that's appropriate. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, I said we get right into the show.
All right. All right. I'm going to read our disclaimer, as I always do, that we are not doctors, psychologists, or counselors. We are not given any medical or psychological advice. We are just simply here to discuss real life situations, to give hope, encouragement, and instill change.
Yes.
Okay, so in our last episode, Brian, which was last week, and again, that one was not live, not on YouTube or anything, we talked about still breathing, still growing, still becoming.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you again, what do you think of when I say still breathing, still growing, still becoming?
To summarize what I believe I can't remember if I said quite a bit last week or not, but I like to wrap everything all up by saying it's moving forward.
Yeah. And you did say it's all in the title.
Yeah.
I remember you saying that, but I think you did allude to like moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's not necessarily like rolling with the punches, like, oh,
No.
I'm taking a beating, but I'm still going. It's more like, it's almost like letting the water run off a duck's back. Like I'm still going.
I like that. That makes sense. Did you read my notes?
No.
So, we said before, and I don't know if we said this in our last podcast, but I know we've kind of been alluding to this same topic for a while now, that miracles have nothing to do with prayer or faith.
Yep.
Remember that? Did
Yep.
you want to allude to that anymore a little bit, or do you want to keep?
Well, to summarize for any new viewers watching, I don't believe that miracles are something that can be simply asked for and received when you want them. I think they're all in according to a plan outside of you. You praying for a particular miracle and it happens, I believe, is not necessarily coincidental. I think it was planned the whole time. Even if you didn't pray at all, I think it still would have happened. And I know people could say, well, then, and I think you even said it too, is like, what's the point of prayer at all? It's not the prayer itself, it's how you pray, what you pray for. It's more of like you praying, essentially, you're praying for yourself. You're like, give me the strength,
Mm-hmm.
the
You did say
comfort
that.
to be able to go through with whatever happens,
Right.
Because I've alluded to it in other episodes. And again, if you're not spiritual or a Christian, obviously this probably doesn't relate to you too awful much, but based on my own life experiences beyond my faith, because that's how I became a believer, is not because of just blind faith. Nobody said the right things and I just became a Christian. I've been through things that are, in a sense, unexplainable.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, when you live your life with the idea that life is not predetermined necessarily, because we have free will, and I know there's people in the world that think we don't, and maybe that's a conversation for another time.
Interesting.
But we do have free will, and I believe that the road that you take has many twists and turns, but it leads to the same destination.
Right.
But the destination is not what matters.
Right.
It's the path you took to get there that matters.
Right.
How you lived as opposed to how it ended.
Right. Because you had mentioned that you believe that your life is predestined,
Yeah.
which is basically what you're explaining right now.
Yeah. I believe that everybody has a preset end goal, or a preset ending, I guess you could say.
Right. And we also said that has nothing to do with faith because faith cannot be measured.
No, because, and I think that's kind of, and again, I'm going spiritual here, so bear with me, but it kind of goes along with what the Bible says, right? You know, the faith the size of a mustard
I
seed.
thought of that before. I'm
And
like, what the heck?
and it's not measuring it literally, because a mustard seed is so small that God is basically saying, if you have faith, that's enough. Doesn't matter how much you have. It's just the fact that you have it, right?
Okay. I like that explanation better because I've always thought of it as a measurement to where having enough or not having enough. Well,
Well, it's so small. Like, let's take it even a step further and say, what if God said faith the size of an atom is enough to move mountains? How do you measure that? You know,
Right.
you can't. Yeah, a mustard seed is a physical thing, but it's so small relative to everything else. I mean, we practice faith every day, regardless of whether you want to believe it or not. I mean, if you're sitting at your computer desk, you're putting faith in your chair that it's not
Right.
going to collapse on you. You know, you have faith that when you open your front door, it's going to open. You know, when you
True.
get in your car, you have faith that it's going to start. You know, we practice faith every day. Faith is not exclusive to belief. Faith is an action,
Right.
right?
Right.
So if God said faith the size of a mustard seed can move mountains, well, there are people that have expressed much more faith than that, and the miracles they asked for don't happen. Why?
I don't know. I've asked myself that before.
No, I'll tell you why. It's because, number one, life doesn't revolve around our wants and needs. It revolves around God. We need to give him the honor and the glory for what we have as opposed to what we want. Life in and of itself is far more important than anything you could ever want, because God knows you better than you know yourself.
I like that.
And you could say, well, what if I wanted this, or what if I wanted this thing and it would have been a benefit to me? Well, how do you know it would have?
Exactly.
You know, it's like a friend of mine who broke up with a partner, right? She sat there and she was like, I did everything right. You know, it wasn't perfect, but I gave him everything. And he broke up with me. And I don't understand why he had to break up with me the way that he did, or the timing, or what have you. And I said to her, I was like, well, how do you know, had you stayed with him, that it wouldn't have gotten worse?
Or it wouldn't
Or
have ended up
something.
the same anyway.
Or it would have ended worse.
Right.
Timing may not be what we want it to be, but I truly think that a vast majority of things end and begin exactly when they're supposed to.
Yeah.
That kind of goes along with my saying everything happens the way it's supposed to.
Right. Right. Exactly. And I do want to kind of throw out a little maybe disclaimer here with what Brian's talking about, is that no matter what you believe in, or, you know, your spirituality or whatever, we don't want you to think that we're trying to make you feel like you have to believe the way we do, or if you
No.
don't believe the way we do, you're wrong. It's not that at all. You believe what you want. We just give our opinions, you know, like our show. It's based on talking about real life situations, but from our perspective. And that's what we believe. But that doesn't mean that what you believe is wrong, or what you're doing is wrong, or you know what I'm saying? Like, we're not trying to convince you to believe that we're right, you're wrong, or you have to believe what we believe, because that's absolutely not the truth.
Yeah, and we can't judge you accordingly, because
and we wouldn't.
we would have to judge ourselves as well. This is why, when it comes to, and maybe that's a conversation for another time too, but to kind of go along with what you said, if you don't believe what we believe, that's perfectly fine. I can't judge you for that. Legitimately, I can't, because I'm not perfect. I'm sure there are things that I probably believe that are wrong.
Yeah.
And I learn every day. And it's not up to me as a flawed human being to tell you what you need to believe.
That's right.
There are core functions of my faith that I would consider truth, but at the same time, if you don't believe those, I can't judge you for that.
Right.
Even as a Christian to another Christian, like I can't judge another believer. And any believer that does judge another believer,
It's wrong.
it's wrong.
It is wrong.
So if you, like me, have faced judgment from people that believe that are Christians, I can tell you 100% the Christian's wrong in that judgment.
We've talked about that. Maybe more private to ourselves, right, Brian?
Yeah, I don't think we talked about
No,
it
I
on
don't
the
think
show,
we've
and that could
talked-
be a
that
conversation
could
for.
be.
We've talked about in episodes about our spirituality, and I know we touch on it here and there, like in this episode, but um, we would like what I would love to see is for you guys to pose questions to us.
Yeah.
I want you to prod our minds, you
Yeah.
know.
Send us
and-
on a journey.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm the kind of person that, like I said, I learn new things every day.
Well, and you just mentioned, Brian, that you can't judge other people for their faith, for their spirituality, even another person that believes like you, because is it not true? And I'm asking you that through the things that you and I have been through, we have found out that there's some things in our life that we've been taught to believe that is not true and is questionable.
Exactly. And it kind of goes along with that in the sense of I can give you answers to questions. Whether or not they're right is a whole nother thing. Because like you just said, we've gone through life and have learned things that we thought were truth before that weren't.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're to summarize this, because I know we're kind of rambling at this point, but to summarize this, if you don't believe what we believe, perfectly fine. You can zone all this out, or at least, you know,
Pick and choose.
absorb it,
Yeah.
whatever. I don't like putting myself in an echo chamber. I will surround myself with atheists. I will. I will.
I know you do.
I will surround myself with people who think differently than me. I would even sit across the table from a Satanist,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd hear him out because I don't like being put in an echo chamber, regardless of what kind of topic it is, whether it's spiritual, political, whatever. You put the counter opposite across the table from me, and I will listen to everything that he says as long as he gives me the same courtesy.
Mm-hmm. Well, why shouldn't it be that way? We all have the right to believe what we want and believe how we want.
And I think that's how the world should be.
Yeah. And you and I, not to keep going with this, but to touch on this a little bit, you and I have even been questioning what is truth.
Mm-hmm. The core of our faith is sound. It's everything surrounding
I
it
know.
that we're kind of realizing that it's not all what we were taught. And whether or not, and again, it's a conversation for another time. We need to get back on topic.
Right.
But I just want to basically say that if you're not spiritual, please don't be offended. We're not trying to step on anyone's toes. We're not
Right.
trying to force you to believe this or beat you over the head with a
Right.
metaphorical Bible. We're trying to express things from
From
a
our
different
point of view.
perspective and exactly from our point of view.
Right.
But
Because everybody's welcome here.
exactly, and that's
Because we want to hear other people's opinions.
there's nothing that would make me happier than somebody who would, I don't want to use the word challenge, but
No.
like engage.
Yes. Because you learn from that. And
Yeah.
maybe you learn to step back a minute and say, maybe I was wrong in that.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with being there's nothing wrong with being wrong.
No, because that's when you grow.
Yeah. And it's like again, the example of us. We've learned so much that we're at a point now where we're kind of relearning some things. But
Okay, we'll continue. That's a good topic, though, for another time.
absolutely.
So we've also mentioned, Brian, that not only saying that miracles have nothing to do with prayer or faith, but we've also mentioned that the old saying is, what doesn't kill you will make you stronger.
Mhm.
And the reason I'm saying that is because we've mentioned that the miracle is not the event. The miracle is who you become in the process.
Yeah.
So,
And that's true. Miracles, when they do happen, they have a tendency to really make you have a different outlook.
well, it shows your true colors, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And
Even in I guess you could say good outcomes. I've seen what you would probably consider a miracle happen to somebody, and that person will turn into somebody that I never thought they were in a bad way.
oh wow.
I can give actually an example, and I know some of them are fake, some of them are actually real. It actually happened to a friend of mine. Um, but it's like winning the lottery.
I thought of that.
I've seen what you would think is a nice person win the lottery, and then they get all that money, and they become selfish, greedy, and manipulative, and it's like, wow, you just had a really good thing happen to you, and that's the person you were the whole time. And people could say, well, no, the money made him that way. No, it was a choice. He didn't have to do it
No,
that way.
you're always that person that eventually comes out.
Yeah,
Your true colors are always there. Just give it time.
yeah. And I think a lot of times too, you can see who that person really is all along. You just don't want to believe it.
I was just thinking that.
Because there are times like I said, I've had things like that happen to friends of mine, and it's almost like a confirmation.
Yeah.
Like I see bits and pieces of that bad person, but then when something really what I would consider good happens to them, they just they go all out on it, and then I'm just like, oh, okay, I was right. So you were that person.
Thanks for showing me who you are.
Thanks for letting me know.
Now I know what to do.
And that's why, like, in regards to our channel on YouTube, we don't want to be fake. This is
Right.
why we're very open with what we
Mhm.
believe, because we don't want to necessarily sugarcoat things, and we don't want to give you guys the impression that we're not the people that are sitting here.
Right.
This is us,
Mhm.
you know? And I hope you guys appreciate that. Like, even if you don't agree, I hope you appreciate it, because we're not going to just bend to the will of a fake face for the sake of it.
Right.
Like, you see so many YouTubers, and I'm not going to call anyone out. I could, but I'm not, who are one person in front of the camera, and then when the camera turns off, they're not the same person.
Right. Well, pick a side, my friend,
Yeah.
because you're always going to have to
Oh, yeah.
eventually. So I'm going to read a quote, Brian, to wrap up last week's podcast that we did on still breathing, still growing, and still becoming, to kind of go into the podcast for tonight. So our quote from last week was, everything is working together. If you really stop and look at the patterns in your life, you'll start to see that everything somehow works out, even the things that once felt impossible. The moments you were certain would destroy you somehow became a part of what shaped you, strengthened you, and redirected your path towards something greater. The heartbreaks, the failures, the seasons where nothing made sense, the nights you thought you wouldn't make it through, and yet here you are, still breathing, still growing, still becoming. That's the part we forget when we're in the middle of the storm. We think the pain means life is against us, when many times it's actually life is repositioning us. What once looked like an ending was often projection, redirection, or preparation for something your old self wasn't ready to hold yet. There's a rhythm underneath all of this, something deeper, moving through our lives that we can't always explain, a quiet intelligence, a divine order, and even when things feel chaotic on the surface, somehow the pieces continue finding their place. Look back at your life honestly, and you'll see it. So many things you worried about never happened. So many things that did happen ended up teaching you exactly what you needed to learn. You've survived every hard day you thought would break you. That's what matters. Maybe the miracle isn't that life is perfect. Maybe the miracle is that despite everything, you keep finding your way forward anyway. Maybe it's time that we remember that. And a lot of these quotes, if not most of them, are from a follower that I follow on YouTube, Zachary Fisher.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love his quotes because they always seem to hit home. So I just wanted to kind of, give that out, because these are not quotes from me. These are him. So did you have anything you want to add, Brian, before we move on?
Nope.
Okay. So tonight's podcast, we're going to discuss miracles in the timing. Now, you had mentioned earlier, Brian, that you said that you felt that miracles, whether you prayed for them or you don't, they always show up eventually.
Yep.
Isn't that timing?
Yeah, not our timing.
I know what you're saying. But they do show up eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I want to read this and then we're going to expound on it. Miracles are the natural outcome of alignment. They are what happen when we finally stop trying to force life to obey our fear and instead allow life to unfold through our presence. When I look back over my life, the biggest turning points were not moments I planned or controlled. They were the moments I let go. We do not believe in miracles. We rely on them because this journey requires them. But it always came. The miracle is not the event. The miracle is who you become in the process. So I'm going to ask you, Brian, the meaning of a miracle is different for everyone, right? Because what I might consider needing a miracle in my life is different than you. Do you agree?
Yes and no. I guess it kind of just comes down to how you would define a miracle. As I've explained in the last few episodes, I think miracles are far beyond anything that you can point to with any logical reasoning. I think they are something that is completely and totally unexplainable. So, by definition, how can you and I both disagree if we were to witness the same miracle regardless of who that miracle was for? Like, let's say you had a miracle happen to you and it had nothing to do with me,
Right.
but I saw what happened. I can't just say that wasn't a miracle. So I guess it would come down to just definition.
Right. Because maybe there's a need in your life right now that, let's just base it off of this. Okay, we'll go from this type of angle is maybe you're in need of something right now. It's not a want, it's a need.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't need what you need in your life right now.
Mm-hmm.
I need something different. But both of our needs to us would be considered miracles because there's nothing either one of us can do to make this thing happen.
Right.
Are you following me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So with that being said, do you still think that miracles are based off of timing?
Yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly. I mean, obviously we live in a physical world where time is a thing, regardless of how you want to define what time is. We have, time is constantly moving. Every second on the clock is moving. So a miracle will happen eventually. It just depends on, like, not how you define a miracle.
So you threw timing in there that was what you just said. I never thought of it like that. Like time is always moving.
Yeah, time never sits still.
So, well, I know that, but like the way that you said it though, I can't remember how you worded it. It was really interesting. It kind of made me like sit back. I never thought of it like that.
What, that time is always moving?
Yeah, and you added something after that.
Huh, I didn't think what I said was that significant.
It was. I was like, "Whoa, I never thought of it like that." Because I guess when I think of it, you always think of a certain time that it should happen. Maybe that's what I was thinking, is that, you always think that because I'm thinking of this miracle that I need it to happen by this time. But because time is always moving,
well, I mean,
it's irrelevant,
I've
really.
seen.
So then is time irrelevant?
I would say our time is irrelevant. Because again, it's not about us. We as humans have a very hard time coming to terms with the idea that life doesn't revolve around us. So when I view life, it's kind of why I don't want to say that I'm chill, because I do have anxieties, I have fears, I have things that I'm concerned with, but I don't let it bother me long term because, number one, what would letting it bother me do for the moment? And me worrying about it is not going to make it go away. And I guess in your perspective, it's not going to make that miracle happen right when I need it to. Regardless of whether a miracle, because I'm not looking for miracles, right? I'm not looking for this miraculous third party to bail me out. I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that I'm secure, I'm fine, I'm going to wake up the next day. But like I've said in other episodes, is like I define human life itself as a
Right.
miracle. So you, again, it comes down to definition.
Right. So you're not saying that time
I don't think
is
timing,
irrelevant. You're just saying that time is
our time is irrelevant.
okay.
Timing in I guess, again, going back to the spiritual side of things, not that we haven't been talking about spiritual things this whole time, but God's time is not my time.
So just because
What power or authority do I have to tell
None.
God to give me a miracle at 2:30 p.m. on the 16th? You
no,
know,
because what happens if it doesn't happen?
I have someone to blame. I can blame God for that because from and I call this an ignorant Christian, but from an ignorant Christian's perspective, why does God have to work on my calendar at all? Does he even work on my calendar?
That was going to be my next question. How do you know he's not?
How do you know he is?
Well, if
I can go both ways with that, and that's the whole point. It doesn't have a direct answer because God doesn't reside within our frame of reference. God sees the bigger picture. You know, it's like imagine you looking from a top-down view of a car going down a road. He's going through corners nonstop, right? But 10 miles up the road, you already see the down tree on the road, but he doesn't. Why does God have to work on my time to make sure that he slams on the brakes right before he hits the tree, as opposed to maybe putting somebody along his road to intercept him before he gets there? Or vice versa. Maybe he does hit the brakes before he hits the tree.
so, do you believe God's always working on your behalf?
I believe God is most of the time working in your best interest, but I think everything has a lesson in an equal and opposite way. I think it's in how you react. I've seen people experience something that would make me go, whoa. But then I've seen the same person see that thing and react in a very hostile way. Like, why the heck did this happen? You know? And it's almost like the point goes right over their head. And that's where free will comes in.
I was just going to say this. You're going on another topic that we need to talk about.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
I just got some questions that came in my head, but I don't want to get off of this either.
But you see my point.
I do.
Is that God sees the whole picture, we only see a fraction of it. This is why I live my life on a very moment-to-moment basis. I can think long-term, but I don't live long-term. Not all the time. Context is important. It kind of depends on the situation. I guess I just approach things from a very common sense perspective.
Did you know that common sense was a superpower?
It is these days, yeah.
So, with everything you just said, Brian, we know that life happens, right? And that we rely on miracles through our journey. We can't always count on them, but I think sometimes we tend to rely on them.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, how do you let go of fear, worries, concerns? How do you step back from those situations and let miracles happen in your life?
Would it surprise you if I said you can't?
You can't let go.
No, because those are natural human emotions. That's like telling you to deny your own humanity. You're going to have those regardless of what you do. I have those. But the difference between, I guess you could say, the average person and me is that, not to pat myself on the back in any way, But that's where my faith comes in. I just know at the end of the day, everything will be okay. You know, I stress, I worry, I fear. That's just natural. What you have to understand is that there's this level of comprehension that you know that not everything is going to go the way you want it to. And you prepare for that. You know, there's preparation involved. A lot of times people will wait till the last minute before something, catastrophic happens that they know is going to happen, but
Right.
they don't worry about it until the last minute. And then all of a sudden they're panicking. A lot of times people will do that to themselves
True.
and then find something else to blame.
Or someone else to blame.
Or someone else. Yeah, context.
Okay. So if miracles are the natural outcome of alignment, we'll say balance. I want to stop right there for a minute. What would you think that type of balance would be, Brian? I can read that again if you want me to.
I'm trying to think of a good way to respond to it. Read it one more time.
If miracles are the natural outcome of alignment, in other words, balance, what does that look like?
What does that look like to me or just in general?
Do both.
Well, to me, it's design. Like it was meant to be that way, regardless of whether a miracle happens or not. This is why I don't look for them. I don't look for escapes. If a miracle happens, then great. If not, then I'm prepared. You know, it's like when you see a bill coming up. Maybe when you know a bill is coming up, that encourages you to not go out and spend more money. That encourages you to save and prepare to pay it off, right?
Right.
But in general, I guess in general, I would just say that's just life.
Yeah.
It's all a matter of perspective at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really say one way or another, this is what it is.
Right.
But to me, life is not random. So to me, I can see design in everything that has happened in my life up to this point. Again, every decision, every road I took, not literal road, but every path I took, every decision made, everything said led me here. Even if our videos reach that one person, that was the goal. Could you say that then in that point that every decision I made would have been a miracle to that person?
If they needed it.
See what I mean?
Wow.
Miracles are not defined by what they are. They're defined by perspective and definition. Because if, again, our podcast reached that one person and gave them exactly what they needed to hear, would you sit there and probably say that that person doesn't see our podcast as a miracle?
Wow. So is this whole thing based off perspective? What is this?
Life can be defined in many different ways, but I don't think too heavily on it because life is so complex. It's the complexity of life itself, the complexity of the decisions made. You may think that there's no significance in the left turn I took on my way home, but who knows what would have happened if you had taken a right.
Wow.
And even if nothing happens, you taking that left and you make it home perfectly fine, how do you know turning right wouldn't have maybe made you not get home? So again, how do you define what a miracle is? You see where I'm going?
Yeah. It's too much to think about.
That's why I think it's important to not think about looking for miracles. It's just a matter of you being thankful for the moment you're in.
So maybe it is about who you're becoming.
Mm-hmm. The person you become as you go down the road, so to speak.
Wow. So basically, Brian, is letting go, finding balance, trusting the timing, and who you become in the process is not only what makes the miracle, but is the miracle. Do you agree with that statement?
I think there's truth in it, yeah.
I think it's much, much deeper than we thought, isn't it?
I think life in general is a lot deeper than what we think it is.
How far could we go with this?
Oh my God. This conversation could go down so many different rabbit holes that we could probably make a series just off the topic of, the spiritual, so to speak.
So when I said to you basically letting go, finding balance, trusting the timing, and who you become in the process is not only what makes the miracle, but is the miracle. I want to break down those things a little bit. You said letting go is something you can't really do because
Not from a human perspective, no. From
Well,
a
what-
spiritual one, I can rely on my relationship with my creator to give me the comfort to be able to deal with the problem, not to get rid of it, but to deal with it.
Is that how you find balance?
Could be a part of it.
What other way is there?
Understanding, discipline, knowledge. There's a lot of other things, there's things that we can do to what's the word? To make up for the shortcomings, I guess. But at the end of the day, it's not really about what we want. It's not about our timing.
So it's about trusting the timing.
Trusting in general. This is why, as a believer, I try to base my faith on trust. Because faith is not blind from my perspective. I just know that regardless of whatever happens, I will be okay.
Wow. That's really good. I don't think there's much more to add to it.
Not that I can think of.
I mean, I raised a lot of questions in my head, but that would be for another time.
Mm-hmm.
So we can do that. So I have a quote to end tonight. Is there anything else you want to add?
Nope.
You sure?
Not any, unless you have any questions for me that relate.
Well, let me ask you this, Brian. Who do you think you've become in the process of life so far? Or who do you hope you have? Like, I know your journey is never done till it's done. But so
And-
far from where you started to where you are.
That's it right there. I can say I'm better, but I can't say I'm where I should be. And I don't think we ever reach that point.
What?
What?
What's the point in this then?
To just gain that life experience, knowledge, discipline, and I guess ultimately empathy for those that are less fortunate. It's kind of the whole point of this show, is that you give hope, encouragement, and change to those that have been through worse or the same thing as you, to pass your knowledge on to them, not in a believe what I believe kind of way, but more of a I understand what you've been through. Here's my story. Now show me your story.
So you never think, Brian, that anybody ever reaches?
No, and I think that's the point. I think once you get to that, if anybody has ever gotten to the point where, I don't believe there has, but if there is somebody that say, oh no, I've gotten there, I kind of picture that as a very boring life.
Because you're never growing, you're never learning, you're never moving forward.
You're not advancing, yeah.
Wow. So you say you think you're better, but you haven't achieved, and you probably won't.
Every day gets better, but I don't think I'll ever get to the point where I'd say
I made it.
I made it, yeah. I don't know what that looks like. If you can define to me
Right? What does that even mean?
making it looks like, then maybe we could break it down. Because I think a lot of times people will think, well, I've got money, power, status.
So what?
At the end of the day, you still put your pants on in the morning the same way I do. Do you have it as figured out as you think you do? or are you just surrounded with walls made of clay?
Yeah. Interesting, Brian. You think you're getting better every day?
Oh, there's definitely growth. And I think anybody that has
An open mind?
an open mind and the understanding that life will always throw things at you that you're not prepared for, I think there's always a day that you wake up and you say, wow, I came out of that storm a better person.
I think as long as you allow yourself room to grow, that's the thing.
Mm.
You have to be willing to grow,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that looks like.
Right.
So the quote that I have tonight is called Trust the Timing. One of the hardest things for the human mind to do is simply wait. We want answers now. We want movement now. We want to know that the path we're on is leading somewhere meaningful. But life doesn't unfold according to our impatience. It unfolds according to timing, alignment, and readiness. There have been many moments in my life where I pushed, forced, and worried about outcomes. I believe that if I just thought about something long enough or worked hard enough, it would immediately manifest the way I imagined. What I've come to realize is that many of the most important things in life cannot be rushed. The right opportunities, the right people, the right doors. They appear when the moment is ready, not when our mind demands it. Sometimes the greatest act of trust is simply allowing life to breathe, letting go of the constant need to control every outcome and understanding that what is meant for you has a way of finding you. This doesn't mean doing nothing. It means continuing to walk forward with faith while releasing the anxiety about how or when things will arrive. If something truly belongs in your life, it is part of the path you are meant to walk. It will come. Your job is simply to keep becoming the person ready to receive it. I kind of think that wraps everything up you said in a nutshell.
I have a very good way of doing that, don't I?
You're so smart, Brian.
Yeah.
You take after your mother. Watch it. The camera's going to turn off. I love that. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to read our quote and then we'll go from there. So believe in yourself, be patient with yourself, and know that your best is always good enough. Know that we can be found on many different platforms like YouTube, Spotify, X, and Apple. Please like, share, subscribe, words are hard, and turn on notifications. Know that we have an email at giveemheck@gmail.com. Our Facebook is Give 'em Heck Podcast, and we have a TikTok, believe it or not, at Give 'em Heck Official. That was rough tonight.
Yeah, so we will definitely keep you guys informed on what we plan on doing next. Please follow our X and Facebook for news and updates. I'll be posting a link to those in the description as always. But until then, I hope you have a good rest of your evening or day, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Goodbye, everyone.
Good night.